All right, so we're here to check out this cool Dead Space themed hilt from Starfall Sabers. Nick got a commission for this to look like the plasma cutter from the game, so he's taken some, cues from the game. I tried to mimic some of those cues in the chassis design. So let's jump down to the table. We'll talk about the chassis design. We'll go over the internals, show a couple functions, and then we'll hop back out, show a couple blade styles, and then we'll wrap it up. Thanks for checking it out. Okay, so we're here to talk about this Starfall hilt. This is the Dead Space plasma cutter themed hilt that Nick asked me to install. So there's just some really cool tie-ins to the video game. Nick requested that I do a PLI strip here that mimics the rig, the health meter. And so we've got color matched LED strip here. This is a 2020 Neopixel strip. And then just because we could, we also have a 20 pixel Neo ring from Shtok. These are one of the new crystal chamber accents. So I printed a clear, translucent resin lens for both of these, just so that the colors kind of distribute better. And we have if we take the blade plug out here, we have a Shtok V3 Neopixel emitter. You've got a thumb screw here, and how you get to everything is just from the pommel here. So no set screw, no Allen keys needed. Do take note of this Allen key right here. Don't mess with any of the other things that aren't specific to the function of the Saber, but this is holding the rotary PCB and switch connector. So if you loosen that, you'll have trouble sliding the chassis in. Now the chassis goes in one way, even though that rotary PCB can use it in any way. And so what we've got is a little screw that sticks out from the Covertech wheel here so that we can align this PLI strip. So again, how we get to everything is we just undo the pommel. And then cup the chassis, and we want to set this off to the side here. We can talk about the chassis real quick. So what I did for the design was just kind of, draw some inspiration from the video games, but just kind of my own spin on things. So I didn't spend a whole lot of time weathering it or making it look crazy, but it's just a silver PLA with a translucent resin lens. And again, there's a 20 pixel Neo strip over here. We've got a Proffi V2. Spring side's your negative, but we do have the terminals clearly labeled there with our Starfall logo, our kill switch. And what I did so that we could get a fully enclosed speaker here so we get a little bit better sound, this could take a 28 millimeter, but because we need this little slot here to align the chassis, getting the speaker off of the face of the pommel, because again, we've got just these screws here. We don't have like a perfect match to like a 28. I was just concerned that we'd get the backside of the speaker exposed and potentially some wire hung up. So surprisingly enough, this 25 millimeter speaker from KR is actually, I've got one in my Regis, and it's one of the loudest speakers I have, and that is one of the loudest Sabers I own. So anyway, config is on the SD card. How you get to everything is you could just plug right in. You don't need to move this. This is just a press fit, but we do have our Shtok rotary PCB. And again, this is what we want to align in the end of the Saber here, where you can see, let me get this off to the side. So you can see you get the Covertech here, and then that little screw, and it's not focusing, but that's okay. But you can see the pins down there that make the connection. And then again, the Covertech just aligns with this slot here. So let's put a battery in it. It takes an 18650, and again, spring side your negative. And then we just want to be careful here because it does go from this 28 down to this thinner 1-inch section. So don't get too rough with it. And then Kill. Now, on a few of these fonts, I actually do have this as like a health meter of the battery. So this is a percentage of the battery life. So this will be one color, and Nick asked that I try to match the aqua blue, greenish blue. It's probably not showing as good on camera of a color, but I did go through a couple screenshots from the game and use the color picker to try to get as close of an RGB value as I could to what's in the game. And again, it's probably just showing up mostly white on camera here. Anyway, so this PLI strip on a few fonts will be a battery level indicator. It should respond to like blaster box and clashes and stuff like that. But in off mode and on mode, it's just going to be a representation of the battery. On other fonts, it'll animate. So yeah, we've got the Starfall font package on here. So how we put this in, again, we want to align that slot, but you can just, look at the PLI strip and get it lined up, right? And then we just put so if you can see, there's a smaller tube in there and it sticks out just a little bit. There we go. So you can see that there's an inner ring there. And by the time we put the pommel on, everything will just cinch up. And then we've got a brass KR dual tactile here. So the left side is if we face it this way, left side is your power, right side is your aux. And so we do have gesture controls, but if you want to just operate in normal mode, you'll hit power. And so you have 3 blade styles. You've got your main emitter, you've got this little vent window that has its own blade style, and then this PLI strip has its own style. And if you need to edit the colors individually, you'll want to go into edit mode. I'm not going to go over that here in this video, but you can see some reactivity there with the blaster blocks in all 3 of the emitter windows. So yeah, just to reiterate, I'm not going to go over edit mode in this video, but I'll have a printout for the owner here with all of the functions. This does use the FET263 prop file and his blade styles with some little bit of editing for what I wanted to do. Yeah, so it'll just be your standard 2-button operation. And then anything I don't cover in this video, you can read on the printout. So this takes a 7/8 inch blade. It is programmed for a 32-inch length. We'll show a couple fonts here after we jump out of the this close-up video, but just wanted to quickly show all these. So we'll go through a couple other fonts. Again, this has the Starfall font package, which is 8 fonts plus a battery level preset at the end, even though a few of these, that will represent the battery. So to get to the next font in the off state, you'll hit aux. And then if you want to go backwards, point the hilt down and hit aux. So you'll see on this font, we get some animations. And again, it does have gesture control, so twist on, twist off, and thrust on. So now that PLI strip changes. And again, it'll respond to clashes. Of course, when we twist on and twist off, we go into battle mode, so a clash actually will turn into a lockup. Depending on the angle of the saber, you'll get a different style of lockup. So if you don't want to do... if you don't want to jump into battle mode, you can just hit your power button. Okay, so now we've got that changing, and again. So you can see here in the strip, and then in this circle and in this strip, we get those reactivities. So as you can tell, plenty loud. But yeah, so Nick asked that this be the same color as the rig on all the fonts. So again, if you did want to alter this color, you'll have to get into edit mode. Regular color change for the blade will take over all of the all of the blade styles. So whatever you change the blade, then all of the other blades will match that. So you'll just need to jump into edit mode, which again, I'm not going to go over here, but you can read up on it. You can also take the chassis out, plug it into your computer, and use what's called Web USB, and there's explanation on FET site. There will be a link on the printout.
Hero's Journey.
Yeah, we'll just go over a couple more fonts here. So basically all of the Canon blade colors, blue, green, yellow, red, purple and such. And then again, for the most part, this is going to be the rig color pattern. And then that's our color change. That's holding aux and tap power. And then if we rotate, so I don't know if that shows up, but you can see all of the, it's hard to tell on camera, but all of the colors are changing in response. So if we don't want to accept it, we just hit aux to cancel. Right. And we'll show some of that with the blade in. So we'll just show a couple more animations here. Ruin does have a pre-on, which is matched here in the emitter vents. So the only way to get the pre-on is to tap power. If you do a gesture control, you'll bypass it. And what I did on this font for the emitter window is you've got this random sparkle pattern. So you'll see like these flecks of yellowish color. They're showing up white on camera, but just random little sparks. And then this is like an unstable blade. And then this is a sound reactive. So the louder the thing gets, the more this lights up. And then of course it'll flash on clash. But you can see it goes from like a green to a blue to a green, the louder it is. So when we're done, we can just plop the blade plug back in, cinch the retention screw down, undo the pommel. Now I've located the kill key such that you can, or kill switch such that you can just pull this out a little bit and then hit the switch if you want to store it and cinch it back up. The accent pixels are timed. I believe I set it for 15 minutes. I may have set it for 5, just so that the battery doesn't drain too fast because we don't have deep sleep on Proffi. So if you left it on in the off state, this will go off after about 5, somewhere between 5 and 15 minutes. And then you'll need to do a button command to wake the Saber back up. It won't respond to gesture controls. So that's the Saber. If we have any questions, let me know. Again, I've got a printout with the full set of instructions. Not all of the options that he lists in this are turned on, just because there's so much you can do with Proffi. But if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Again, thanks for checking it out, and we'll go put a blade in and we'll show this fully functional and maybe show a couple other features. Okay, so we've talked about the chassis design, the internals, how to pull it in and out, turn it on and off, and then a couple of the button commands. So let's show off a couple blade styles and then go over a quick set of functions. I'm not going to cover everything in this video. There will be a printout with the instructions from the prop file. Again, this does sport Proffi OS 6.7 and the FET263 prop file. It's a 2-button setup, so it's pretty manageable. So again, this has the Starfall font collection. So you've got 8 presets with 3 blade styles, one for the emitter, one for the emitter vents, and then one for this PLI strip. Now, the preset for the battery level is on a few of the blade styles, and then on some other ones, I just did some typical Neopixel strip animations. So right now on the first font, that's what we've got. You've got 2 windows here. I don't know how well this shows up on camera. So this is about 50%. You can sort of see it's just a little bit above. This will be in the on and off state for those presets. So I will put the caveat out there that the on state, you'll probably see that flicker a lot more than you normally would, because it's kind of a real-time sense of the current draw. So the brighter the blade is, the quicker that'll jump down. But if you turn the blade off, all of a sudden, the battery might go up a notch or 2. So just a heads up on that. So again, we'll turn the blade on. So we're now in normal mode because we just hit the button. So if you want to engage in lockups, you hold either aux or power. Power is going to be on the left side, aux on the right, and then clash the Saber. So, and again, a lockup can be a lockup as in like a dual, or a melt if you're sideways, or a drag if you're pointing down. So If you don't want to hold the button because maybe you want to, I don't know, show off the PLI strip, then what you can do is go into gesture control. So we'll twist on or thrust on, and then that will get into battle mode, which means as soon as we clash, if we don't immediately jerk the saber away, we'll engage a lockup. So let's try that real quick. So we're going to twist on. Okay, so now a clash. Stays a lockup. You can move it around a little bit until you pull away. If we're horizontal, oops, I just turned it off. So now if we're horizontal and we clash, we'll get a melt. And I don't know how well it shows up on camera, but the longer you hold it, the more active it gets. And you can rotate it to change colors. Same goes for down. If you're pointing down, you'll get a drag effect. So that's battle mode, and that's gesture on. You can do that with thrust on, which is sort of a sideways motion like that. Okay, so let's show off a couple more fonts. So now we've got just kind of a regular Neopixel animation instead of the battery level on this one. So if we want to engage soundtracks, we will hold power in the off state for a second. And then again to turn it off. Now you can turn the tracks on and off while the blade is on. You just have to be pointed straight up. So let's demonstrate that real quick. So this is Celestial. And then if I point straight up and hold power for a second, we get our track. But if I hold it to the side, we're gonna get a force effect. So you'll see that blade do a flicker. So this one is a font, a quote. Which is a very long quote. So some of the Starfall font collections has either forced sounds like whooshes or crackles or just different sound effects. Some have quotes, some have a mix of the two. So that one has a font. But you noticed I was not pointed up and I held it for a second to get that to happen. So again, if we wanted to turn the track on or off while the Saber's on, hold it vertically. So let's go to a different font here. So again, now we've got a different animation here. Okay. And then this one is sound reactive. So the louder the Saber gets, the more those pixels light up. And then if we clash, it will react. So we'll show off a couple more fonts.
Hero's Journey.
We get our smooth swing, and now we're in regular mode because I just tapped power. So clashes are just clashes, and then aux for blaster bolt. We get a couple different styles, and it's probably not showing up that well on camera, but you'll see you've got different ripple effects or just small, depending on the sound. So. And again, I mentioned this down below, but Rune is the only Starfall font with a pre-on. So the only way to get the pre-on is to actually tap the button. And so I mimic those in both the emitter and the emitter window. So we'll just do that one more time. See if we can get this better on camera. Yeah. And now we have an unstable blade. But if we were to do a gesture control like twist on or thrust on, we're just going to go straight into our ignition. One quick note, color change on the last preset, which is Corn Horn, we'll just switch back and forth between two colors. So we won't actually get into color wheel and we won't change all of the styles. We'll just flip between two colors. So the PLI strip should stay the same, and then the emitter will probably be the same, but the blade will go from white. So let's just demonstrate that real quick.
Reconcile.
So this is the last sound preset before we get to the battery level. So we have an animation there. So this may not show up that great on camera, but I do have the emitter being purple all the time, so it's not going to switch back and forth between white and purple, but this just kind of to let you know that that's what's going to happen. and then hold aux tap power, and then it just jumps right to purple. And that's just the main blade. See, we didn't affect this one, and we didn't affect this. So that's just on Cornhorn. Any other one, you're gonna jump into the color wheel and you'll go through different colors. And then again, it's going to affect all of the blades. So just know that if you don't want that to happen, to go into edit mode, or again, you can take the chassis out, plug it into your computer with the USB, go to a URL for web USB, and then it will pull up all your presets. You can copy and paste. You can add fonts, and then you can change all of the individual colors for each of the blades. Yeah, so thanks for checking it out, and I hope you enjoy it.